Hello everybody, Matteo here again, and I welcome you here in my little RC garage. Today I'm going to show you the brass upgrade parts from Racing for the Traxxas TRX-4. In this video I like to show you how to install these parts on a Traxxas TRX-4 and what's the advantage. And I'll going out and test the upgraded Bronco on a steep trail. As first, let's have a closer look on these gold shining brass parts. On every part the white of it is marked, because the plus of white is the big advantage of these parts. The parts on the axle sits very low on the chassis, and so with this extra white the center of gravity becomes very low. This gives a better traction and handling of the truck, especially on steep terrain. As always from Racing, the parts fit very well together and are made in excellent quality. Here you can see the extra weight of the parts for the front axle is about 380 grams. But now, let's start with the installation. As first, I retighten the already installed screws and apply a bit of Loctite to prevent self-loosening of these screws. Before I can install the parts, I have to take out the front axle from the chassis. Now I can remove the portal axle gear housing. And after removing the C-hubs, I can directly install the new hubs with the same screws. Now I open the axle gear housing. After removing all screws, I can open the gearbox and remove the gear. Also, the bearings have to be removed and cleaned before I can install it on the new parts. Now I can start to put in the gears and fix it with the original screws. Here the original screws are too short for the new parts. The longer, well-fitting screws are included. But before I close the gearbox, I apply some grease on the gears. Then I put the parts together and screw it on. Here on these two positions I can use the original shorter screws. On the other side I have to use the shorter screws from the Racing upgrade kit. Now the axle gear housing is finished. Before I can install the C-hub, I have to press in the bearings by using pliers. So the first side is finished and I open the diff housing to replace the diff cover. Here also, before I close the diff housing, I apply a bit of grease and spray oil. Then I use the original screws to install the new diff cover. The next step is the installation of the steering linkage. As you can see, I've already finished the second side of the axle on the same way as the other. Here you can see the brass wheel hex adapter from the air racing kit is a bit wider. It have 8mm offset and the result is a bit wider wheelbase. But I like to use the original wheels, and now there is not so much screw left to install the wheel hubs. But I like the look of these hubs, and so I use the original wheel hex adapters. So, and here it is, the complete front axle finished. Let's check again the complete weight of the front axle now. Wow, nearly 600 grams. I think it's impossible to get a wheelie with the Bronco now. As last step, I install the axle on the chassis. Putting everything together, and here it is, the complete installed new front axle. Also, the new drive shaft is already installed. Looks fine in my opinion. Now I'll install the new diff cover and drive shaft on the rear axle. But by the installation I found a little problem. The rear drive shaft is too long. At first I thought the air racing made something wrong, but then I realized the Bronco have a shorter wheelbase as the TRX-4 Defender. And I think these drive shafts are made to fit directly into the Defender. But I can fix this problem easily by shortening a bit this pipe. After refining, I can put together the parts and install the now fitting rear drive shaft. Now everything is finished and ready for a test drive. So here we are. Nice weather today. Best conditions for some RC fun. Now I try to climb up this steep trail. The plus of white on the front axle should help to keep the truck on its wheels and improve the traction. I can feel the white on the front axle compared to the stock setup. I mastered this climb many times with the stock setup truck, but now I feel it's more stable on the line. So in my opinion, these parts are a good upgrade for a TRX-4. I think the TRX-4 is out of the box a very well working truck. It's hard to improve something. Okay, you're right, except the steering servo. But this wide upgrade gave a real advantage on some steep terrain. Of course, the truck lost a lot of agility and run times will be shorter. But every advantage have also disadvantages in some way. So I hope this video was helpful and you liked it. If so, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you not already have. I say thanks for watching and see you next time.